My name is Paul DeRocha. For those of you who know me, those that don't, I'm still Paul DeRocha. This is my program. I've been interested in gas stations for a long time. And with the help of a few people, Mr. Phelps is one of them, we managed to get enough of this together to make a program out of it. So,
Can you explain that, please? Can you explain what you're looking at?
well, there's going to be more on that later.
Okay.
This is just the title page. Let's see if I can. So, special thanks to Alan. He thought that the easiest way to track all the gas stations was to check the tax records to see who got charged tax for the pumps and the tanks. He did a lot of the early going through, writing down all the pieces. And that's how we came up with most of the ones that were here. Assessor's office helped in identifying a few properties. A lot of people loaned me pictures for the event. My daughter Amy helped me set this up because she's much more computer savvy than I am. But it's long distance, she's a visual. So we're going to begin at the Marlborough line and work towards Shrewsbury. A couple of things. The road that you know as Route 20 today was not around in the 20s. This was a circuitous route where Fisk Nursery used to be, went over East Main, and that was the main road. That section from right by Fisk is now the tavern to where the White Cliffs is, that was just open land. That was not a road. Some of the, that's where most of the gas stations are. There's some oddball ones, but the numbers you see, the addresses you see now are present day addresses. Addresses on Route 20 have changed 4 or 5 times since the 20s. Main Street's gone from Main Street to East Main Street to West Main Street to back to Main Street, back and forth.
You're going to talk louder.
Gotta talk loud.
You can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
I don't know. Hello? Hello?
There's a button on the phone.
Huh?
There's a button on it.
Yeah. So we're gonna start down towards the Marlborough line at 345 Main Street, which is the circle right there where the gas pumps are. That is the building that was Bagel Makers, was a pizza shop, and now it's
Crossway.
I care.
yeah, so purchased from George Priest from Sam Kitchen on August 21st, 22. He was first assessed for gas tanks and pumps in 23. Property sold in 25 to Charlie McCarthy. He sold it to Bianco in 25. Bianco lost the property to foreclosure to Standard Oil, 27. Property again changed hands between lawyers, banks, and passed to Jared Busby on March 12, 28. Busby sold it to George Mellon. Mr. Mellon passed away and mortgage to the Gale and Wood Fund was foreclosed. Property was purchased by John R. McGowan, 1932, and continued at a gas station until sometime after his death. Property was sold by the heirs of McGowan to Earl M. Aubrey in 1955. The last assessment for pumps was in 1953. That's what the building looks like now. I do not have an early picture of it. The next one is on the opposite side of the street, was Emma Bouffard. And that is, I'm not sure what the store is now, but it was a stove place. It's still there. Purchased by Bouffard from Filbert. She began being assessed for pumps in 1925 along with a house and a store. After 37, there was no longer pumps on the property. And she died somewhere in the 60s and they sold the property off. That's the last picture I have of it. That was taken 7 or 8 years ago. Building looks a lot better now, they've got it all fixed up. The next one,
That was Charbonneau, wasn't it? Or Charbonneau lived in?
I don't know, not sure. Been some sort of a store for a long time. It was a hardware store for a while.
Yeah.
And a stove place. And now this is one of the more interesting properties. Eugenia Beauregard purchased 7.5 acres intersection of Bartlett Street and Post Road in 1917. You gotta remember that Route 20 wasn't there, so this piece of property went from the corner of what is now East Main Street and Bartlett Street, almost to Maple Street, and then big chunk of land. She and her husband, Fred, started a small gas station garage on the corner, right in the Post Roads. Also at that time was Main Street. They had a cider mill. In '24, they were assessed for a house. House was valued at $300. The shed was $50. Garage was $100. The store was $100. The toilet was $200. And 3 gas tanks and pumps for $100. Somewhere in '24, '25, they built a new house on the property, and the assessment of the house went from $300 to $3,500. That house is still there. It's the house that Mr. Carl lived in.
Excuse me, Paul, do you
Yes.
know what corner that the pumps were at? Because there's like Bartlett Street connects to East Main.
Right, so if you look at the house from East Main Street with Bartlett Street on your left, they were to the right, there was another building there. I seem to think it's the next house down that was their original one, but I'm not sure of that. The property lines are a little skewed. But the house that's there now was their new house that went from like a $300 house to a $3,500 house.
So if I was standing on East Main Street,
Looking toward,
looking down Bartlett Street,
yep,
be on the right?
yep. It's the house, the guy that's always cutting the wood,
Yeah.
that's the house. That's this house. They had a thriving business until they realigned the Post Road in '31. Then their business went. So they own the property on the other side of Route 20 now. And they built a new station on the south side of 20 sometime in 1932 as their assessment for a new garage and 4 pumps. Eugenia passed away in January '38. Fred sold the station to Alfred Charbonneau in '44. This is the first house slash garage. That's 1919. There's a 1 pump. That's Eugenia. She was selling the cider.
Were the tanks in the ground then?
I believe they were above ground, I believe.
The site cost more than gas.
Huh?
The site cost more than gas.
Probably did. But it was, this was a main road. What's now East Main Street was the Post Road. It had a lot of traffic, so they were trying all kinds of things. One of the things, well, let's see if we get to the next one. One of the things were her pet bears. So this is a picture of a state trooper with one of the bears on the motorcycle. And these were Eugenia's pets. That's in the mid-20s. Gets better. There's a congregation of a bunch of guys that must have stopped for some cider and see the bears. This is Eugenia talking to the bear. She must have been an interesting lady. She's feeding them out of her mouth.
What you want to say?
Could be. This is what the place looks like now. That's the modern day house. So the next one, 292 Main Street, the Shell station, that's the one that Buck built in '31. He sold the station to Al Charbonneau, his wife. A new larger station was built sometime after '44. First agreement with Charbonneau and the Shell Oil Company that I have found is April 58. Shell station was operated by a number of people after Chabonneau's, including John Klein, Ray Brayman. Station changed to Shell to Texaco in the 70s. The station was torn down to make way for the shopping plaza in 85. So this is a picture when John Klein was running it, I believe. And that's Steve Hendricks and Pete Batchelor out front sometime in the 70s. And that's what it looks like today. 117 East Main Street. Fred Evelyn purchased the property from Henrietta Leary, April 14, 27, to include a house, a bungalow, and a garage. By 28, a store was being assessed, and 29, 4 gas pumps were being assessed. By 31, the pumps were no longer being assessed, so they must have stopped selling. 32, the property was back with Henrietta Leary. That is the house now. It's up on the hill, if you're going down East Main Street, on the right-hand side. I can't think of who owns it right now, but 85 East Main Street. Larry and Grillo purchased 16 acres in 21 from John Poland of Worcester, corner of the Post Road and Allen Street, and included a house, barn, and a garage. Same time, he sold a half-acre section of the larger lot at the corner to Joseph Grenier, which apparently had a garage. 22, Joseph Grenier was being assessed for a garage, gas pump, and tank. Grenier sold to William Dining and his wife, Agnes, February 5th, 24. Along with the sale of the property, the deed had a restriction that Grenier could not open a competing gas station within a mile of the property for a period of 5 years. Sometime before 26, William passed away. June of 27, Agnes Dining sold to Arthur Shabbat. Shabbat sold to Herbert and Nellie Wheeler in 28. By September 28, property sold again, this time to John Sawillick. The property showed 3 pumps and a lunch wagon. Sawillick sold to Pat DeLargy, still owning a mortgage to Wheeler. DeLargy backed out of the sale, and by April 28, 31, Wheeler foreclosed on the mortgage and took control of the property again. Wheeler sold the property to Hiram and Myrtle Bishop in 32. No record of pumps on the property after 32. During the same time, Hilarion Grillo was charged for gas pumps from 25 to 32. Property records show the piece of property sold to Grenier was just the property that the house now sits on. It did not include the block garage that stands beside it. I believe that Grenier opened a gas station on the corner. Once he did, Grollo opened the one right next door to the block garage, at the block garage. Grenier, Sawillick, DeLargy, and Wheeler were all charged for 3 pumps. Grollo was only charged for 2. This is the property. So Grenier's property was the house, and they had some tanks and pumps on the side. The property line went between that and the block building that's there today, and Grenier was selling gas at that one, so they were both selling gas on the same 100 feet of property for a few years.
Do we have any idea what the cost was for the gas now?
I don't. At that time, it was probably 15 cents. This is the garage beside the house today. 197 Main Street. August 24, Herbert and Eugene Mitchell purchased about 30 acres of land located on both sides of the Post Road from Henry Mitchell. At the time, they were assessed for a house, barn, and billboards. By 27, they were also being assessed for stock and trade and 2 gas pumps. In June of 31, the Mitchell sold the property to Chester Warren, who added a lunch cart to the operation. That was the lunch cart that you heard from before, Sawillick, sold to Warren. And Warren is what Chet's is named after, because it was Chester Warren. On March 1934, Warren sold to Paul Strazzaro. Mr. Strazzaro added 3 camps to the house, lunch car, and gas pumps. He held the property until 1952 when it was sold to Harry B. Inman. There were no assessments for gas pumps after '52. The property was later broken up into the garage piece, the diner piece, and the house piece. That's the garage piece. That's facing Route 20 now, but in the days of this time, it was facing the other way. The garage doors were coming in from the other way. That was the garage. I didn't put a picture of Chet's in there. I should have. And next one, 88 Main Street. December 34, Willard Beeman purchased 88 Main Street from Herman Sparrow. He operated a gas station there on that property for about 2 years. The property was sold to Ernie Lawrence in '36. Now, in that time that Mr. Beeman owned it, it was run as Blue Front Garage, George Martin. At that time, the property was owned by Herman Sparrow. Now look at that building really close. This is after the Lawrences bought it to make a store out of it. If you notice, it's the same building. He just boarded up that outside wall and put doors in it. Now, I'm going to go back. That's what it looks like today. It's insurance agent or something.
Can you explain exactly where that piece of property is?
It's right at the river.
Right, the river runs behind the house.
Yeah, right behind the house. It's built right on the river. At one point, there was a mill there. And this was, you can see in the background behind the Amoco sign, there was a building there. That was a dye factory.
Was it what?
A dye factory. And that burned down sometime before my time. But it left the dye on the ground. And we were not supposed to cross Route 20. But we used to cross Route 20 all the time, and we never knew how our parents knew we were over there. Our feet were all purple. We used to track the dye everywhere. So we got in trouble a lot. And that was the store when Ernie Lawrence first started the store, before he had the candle factory. Okay, 80 Main Street. This guy never got assessed for pumps. And I would never have known that this had gas pumps or what, other than Cliff Palmer's father told me, yeah, that used to be Erickson's used car lot. He had pumps in the back. She's crazy, it's a house. He purchased it in '26 from Elizabeth Wynne Cook. He established a U-car lot behind the house and did also have gas pumps. No record of him being assessed pumps. And until I actually found pictures, I wasn't sure. Lost the property in foreclosure in November of '36 to Hudson Cooperative Bank. There's the house back then. And that's Albert Erickson's new used cars for sale. And you go up in the back, and there's the garage with the gas pump. So they service cars, sold gas.
You must have known something.
That's what it looks like today.
Yeah.
Same thing.
That's the big yellow house?
Big white house. Right just before you get to where Summer Street comes out onto 20. Now, most of the barn was gone, but there was a little small section of like a once-car garage that Dave Pierce, when he owned it, had converted it to an apartment. And when it burned down, he was very angry because the rent from the little garage was paying all of the expenses for the whole house. Wasn't happy. 15 Main Street. May 22nd, 1926, Bill Walker and Gordon Walker purchased the property at the corner of Hudson Street and Bliss Road. Bill and Gordon purchased an additional piece of property directly behind the original property. In '28, Gordon sold his interest to Bill First lease agreement between Bill and Shell Oil Company was in 1932. Bill bought an additional piece of property along the railroad line from the old Colony Rail. And in November 1946, Bill sold the gas station part of the property to Colonial Beacon Company. Colonial Beacon was purchased by Standard Oil of New Jersey. Standard Oil, New Jersey became Esso in 49 and then Humble in 59. This is a picture of the original kiosk that Bill Walker was doing. Let's see if I can make this work. So that's Bill Walker. This guy is Roger Winning. I believe that this is Everett Hayes, and this is Bill Walker's father-in-law. But that's where he started, and they working out of the barn for the mechanical part of it. That's a better view around 1930s. They had built a little smaller building in front of the big barn. They still had just a kiosk for gas. The barn was storage, and they were working in the barn to the left. That's another of the things. There was a Texaco at that point.
There's a town hall.
Yeah, town hall.
Right. It's right where the Cumberland Farms is now.
Chevrolet place is there, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the day they opened the new Esso station. They tore down the kiosk and they put the Esso station up. I am pretty sure that that is Walter Carey walking across the parking lot to go over to the garage. That was the state-of-the-art, late 40s. I'm sorry this isn't much better, I just couldn't get it to blow up. This is the showroom that they built after they built the little gas station. It was Chevrolet. Bill sold it to George O'Hara. George O'Hara sold it to Bennett. And eventually Bennett went out of business. And it became Esso station, now the Exxon station, now Cumberland Farms. Yes, there's the Cumberland Farms. That's all that same piece of property. 17 South Street. Walter Bigelow bought the building from William J. Potter and Ezra Bigelow. Building was then sold to Aubrey Murchie in 20. Murchie sold it back to Bigelow in January 23. Bigelow signed a contract with the Tidewater Oil Company to install a 500-gallon tank and pump on the property. Equipment was to be paid for by a half-a-cent a gallon fee until the price of $200 was paid. Bigelow sold to Charlie Prescott July 25. Same day the property was transferred to Samuel Grace. Both transfers stated that the lease agreement with Tidewater was still in force. Almost 2 years later, in 27, the property was again sold to an Allison I. Duplessis. Duplessis heirs sold to Northborough National Bank in 45. The bank sold the property to John Fairley in 47. It appears that the gas station part of the property only lasted 5 or 6 years. But there's a picture with the gas pump, and I believe that is Arthur Fairley's father. I think that might be Arthur, but it may not be. And I think that might be Everett Hayes. But that's about 1924. And that's what it looks like today. It's a medical spa.
That was a great hardware store.
It was. There's a lot of stuff there from the 20s when it came out.
It's still fine.
Fun things.
Okay, West Main and Church Street, the mobile station. So in April of 25, Lizzie Page and Willie Wadsworth sold the Northborough Hotel and property at the intersection of West Street and Church Street to Georgia Collier. At the time, there was a very small gas station on the West Main Street side of the hotel with an agreement with the Texas company, Texaco, for a lease which was to run for 5 years. On December 2nd, 1926, a fire destroyed the hotel, but not the gas station. Georgia sold the property in April of 29 to Standard Oil. of New York with the stipulation that there was agreement with the Texas company to lease a small portion of the property. She eliminated that problem by making an agreement with Texas company to establish a gas station directly across the street on the main road from the hotel property, a property owned by her husband John and Joseph Collier. Standard Oil Company built a new station on the hotel property. Standard Oil became Saccone Oil and then Mobil, and leased the property to numerous operators over the years. They're still in business to this day. So this is the gas station, just a little kiosk beside the building right after it burned out. That's basically from the actual intersection of Church and 20. Kind of burned pretty good. Again, you can see where the little gas station was. It's amazing that that didn't go up too, but this is right after the hurricane of '38. There was a smaller building there, a wooden building. That's Walker's Market, which was R&T Furniture eventually.
Oh, what's the gas pumps off to the right corner there?
That's the mobile station.
Okay, that's the mobile.
Yeah, you can't see the building because it's behind that billboard, but there's a wooden building behind there that was the gas station.
Which would be the corner of Church and
Church and 20. This is when they had just built the new station, right after the hurricane. And then, not sure who this guy is. I'd love to know, but he's pumping gas at the mobile station. And that's the mobile station in 2018. Doesn't look much better today.
Oh, my brother-in-law had that in the 60s, Wally Hardy.
Wally Hardy, Al Usher,
Yeah, Alice.
Earl
was a mechanic for WC.
Earl Harris, but he never ran it. He just worked there.
He worked for.
Yeah. He worked for Hardy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I pumped gas at that time.
Sim Foraker ran it for a while too.
Low,
Hmm?
low,
Steve,
Lowe.
Steve Lowe?
No. He did run it later in life. Yeah. In the 90s, 2000s.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 35 West Main, the building across the street, John and Joseph Collier purchased the building, the property on 35 West Main Street from the estate of Lizzie Page. October 1929, they entered into an agreement with Texas Company to build and operate a gas station on the property. They had previously leased the property on the other side until the hotel burned. During the ensuing years, the Colliers leased out the operation of the station to other people. During the 30s, the station was run by Everett Hayes and Jack Schleier. In '41, the property was transferred to Georgia A. Collier from John and Joseph. January '47, the heirs of Georgia Collier sold the property to the Texas Company. January '59, Texas Company sold the property to C.K. Smith of Worcester. That's what it looked like in '35. Another picture of a little snow on the ground. That's Jack Schleier standing in the doorway, which is, Philip Bostock. Carol Bostock's father. Sorry. My mind's not working good today.
Paul, were they just selling gas or did they do repairs and other?
Just selling gas at that point, that I know. I mean, they had some tires and things, so they must have done something, but it wasn't a very big, I mean, I didn't see any doors, so whatever they were doing outside. And that's after the hurricane in '38, with all the trees down. And this is how you get your gas pumps working when there's no electricity. Pack up the old car and put a belt on it. In the blackout in the 60s, when we had no power for a while, we ran our pumps with Walter Carey's rototiller. We took the belt off the tiller blades, put it around the pump, and just sit there and run it and pump gas. That's what the station looked like in 2018, which was the last time we took pictures. Okay, 44 West Main Street. This one's not complete, but Sarah Emery sold the property, now known as 44 West Main Street, to Herman Sparrow. I believe he built the front part of the building that, for the most part, still stands today. I believe they built that in 1918. In 19, Sparrow sold to Thomas and Mary Lindsay Burrow. In 23, Kester Lindsay sold the interest in the property to Mary C. Lindsay of Northborough for $1. I believe Kester was the son. I think Thomas had died. July 24, Mary Lindsay sold the property to David Pemstein. Pemstein sold to Catherine F. Manifold of Worcester in 26. In 31, she sold it to Charles T. Addy and Fred Townsend, both of Stowe. In between those times, neither Pemstein or Manifold actually ran the station. There were a couple of other people that ran it. I don't have their names. It's just kind of obliterated. There were no official agreements that were registered with the Registry of Deeds. They operated business until 1945 when they sold to John McShane and Ernie Carey in Northborough. Good, yeah. Helped to push the right button, wouldn't it? In July of 56, Ernie Carey sold his interest to John McShane. In August of 59, John McShane sold to Roger Winnie, Walter Carey, and my father, Arnold DeRocha, doing business as WCD Garage. I started working there in June of 1963.
All right.
I'm still there. You can't get rid of me. In 86, my wife and I purchased the business from the three partners and operated for 20 years. In the summer of 87, we removed the pumps and underground tanks and no longer sold gas. We sold the car repair business and property in 2007 to Bob Munter of Berlin, who continues on to this day. So this is the original building. This gentleman is one of the Lindsays. I have the names of the others, I don't have them right here, unfortunately. But that was a Dodge dealer at the time. Back in those days, if you bought one or two cars, you could be a dealer. Put your sale sign on it, and you were a dealer. This was, in 53, there was a lot of water here, floods and stuff. That was, well, that's Route 20, kind of wet. That's what it looked like about 1965. That's me pumping gas. Gas was 30 cents. Well,
That was the first Jenny gas station, wasn't it? That was the first time you've seen a Jenny gas station.
in Northborough, yes.
Yeah.
Jenny was around. They were one of the few that went from whale oil to gasoline. They were in business. They were selling gas when that pump topper was common. That was in the 20s. That looks like, so it's 2 arrows and a super arrow, so they have already gotten rid of the Gentane. They had a cheaper brand of gas. We used to tell people it was for burning brush and using in the lawnmower that you weren't going to keep for another year. The arrow gas had, I don't know, 93, 94 octane, and the super arrow was 102. Wow. So you can get the 102 now with the Sunoco, but it's like $11 a gallon. It was good stuff. And a random thing, my wife and I were at a concert, a folk guy she follows, and we were sitting with another couple, we got talking, So where are you from? I'm from Northborough. He said, oh, I grew up in Northborough. My grandfather was in Northborough. Really? Yeah, his name was Edgar. Now I can't think of it. Anyway, that's his car. I said, I got a picture of your grandfather's car.
Well, behind that tow truck, that looks like a 50.
That's Mickey Ellsworth's 57 Chevy. In for clutch every other week. He was brutal on clutches. And that's what it looks like kind of today. We did the renovation in '03. 48, which is the Sunoco station next door. Walter Stewart purchased a tract of land for Sarah Emery. Purchased another tract of land from Sarah Emery, bordering the land he'd already purchased. He built a gas station on a small part of the land closer to the center of town. Entered into agreement with Tidewater Oil Sales to improve the station and sell Tidal gas. After Walter's death in 38 or 39, his son Charles Stewart had administrator to go with the property. Only sold the property to Hugo Peterson of Worcester. In anticipation of the sale, Hugo signed an agreement with Shell Oil Company to renovate the station, update the equipment. 47, Hugo Peterson sold, along with Annie S. Woods, who was his daughter, I believe, who had given a mortgage, Worcester Federal saving on the property. In January 48, Hugo and Annie renewed the lease with Shell. At some point in the early 50s, they signed on with Atlantic Richfield. 72, Annie put the property in the Woods Family Trust. In 74, Family Trust sold the property to Atlantic Richfield. Property was later sold to Moraine. It's presently under private ownership and it is selling Sunoco gas. So that's the property he bought. And that's the little corner where it is with the pumps out in the front. And this is a picture from a fire. This is looking west on Route 20. That's Walker's Meat Market, our building, and the next little building. And that's what it looks like today. West Main Street. 25, Henry Pierce purchased property from James Crowley on the south side of the highway. In 27, Henry was pumping gas from 2 pumps and had a store on the property. 28, he had 3 pumps. 24, Henry signed an agreement with Standard Oil Company to supply fuel. Henry died December 10th, 1935. In January 41, Henry's wife Nellie sold the property to his son Earl. In June 46, Earl signed with Sunoco. Earl and his wife ran the business until Earl's passing. Regina continued until her passing. Family ran the station for a short time after that, then removed the tanks and sold the property. They really didn't remove the tanks. We removed the tanks. That's Earl. That's the earliest picture I can find. They claim not to have any early pictures, but...
Future home of the fire station. Future home of the fire station.
Yeah, it's got, future home of the fire station. All right, 96 West Main. Eugene McGillicuddy, Worcester, administrator for the estate of Barbara Norton, sold property in Northborough to Matthias and Lucy Norton. Lucy died in 1915. 24, Norton was being assessed for a house, a barn, store shed, and gas pumps. By December 25, the property was being sold to the trustees of the will of Matthias Norton to Alfred Canandella. Property was sold again to Elmer Moulton in 29. There's no assessment of gas after 32, so they were pumping gas for 6 or 8 years. Most of when they started getting assessing, they were a year or so behind. It had already been sold gas for a while. That was the house that was the store with the pumps along the side. That's the place now. 112. In 1912, Ralph Fisk purchased 2 parcels of land in Northborough. The first parcel, now known as 112 West Main, amounted to 8 1/5 acres. He established Assabet Hill orchards on that parcel. In 25, he installed gas pumps to serve the motoring public. Property was sold in September 35 to Edna White, who was to become Edna Granger. Became Granger's nursing home. No indication of gas pumps on the property after 35. So that's the building. There's 2 pumps right there. I'll get a better view of the pump here, I think. That was 1925. That's what it is now, Coleman House. Next, 154. Ace of A sold property to Alfred Warren, north side of the highway. Alfred operated repair machine shop, testing facility, and gas station. Mr. Warren was among the first in Northborough to pay tax on gas pumps as early as 22. Warren sold the property to Emily M. Sanders in 35. Emily was the mother of Robert Sanders, who ran the repair shop and gas station until his death. Robert's wife, Thelma Sanders, sold the property to Leo Mantica in September 12, 59. Property is now owned by David Pierce and is no longer in the gas business.
That's Duke's Garage.
It's still a garage.
Dukes.
That's what it looked like back then. That's Bob Sanders, and that's Ted Lawrence.
Oh, Ted Lawrence, yeah.
He is an old-time guy.
Yeah.
And that's another view. That's Bob Sanders. That's Ted Lawrence again. I'm not sure who that is. Not sure if it's his wife or just a customer, but that's one of his records. Another one, basically a car with a crane on the back.
That was Leo's son, right? Was that Leo's son?
Leo Mantica?
Yeah.
No, this is before. This is Sanders. This is Bob Sanders before Leo Mantica. That's what it looks like today. Well, it's a little more fallen in, but not a lot. 222 West Main. April of 04, Fred and Liddy French purchased a piece of property in the corner of Main, the main road to Shrewsbury and the road to Fay Farm, now Lincoln Street. In 28, they were listed as having a house, barn, store, and 2 gas pumps. For the years 30 through 37, they were listed as having 3 pumps, as well as a house, barn, and store. No assessment for gas pumps after 38. The house was eventually taken over by his son, Fred, Herb French, as we know. And this is when they were straightening out the road. This was the survey of where the pumps were. There's Lincoln Street coming out onto 20, and right at the corner of the driveway was the pumps.
It's a pretty nice brick house there for quite a while.
Right. And that was there at the time, I believe. They had just a little that was just a little, real small building to sell gas.
Is that red line the center line of Route 20?
That's what it was supposed to be, I believe. They were straightening out 20. They bypassed, when they started in Northborough, the road kind of made a circuitous route. They straightened it out and they made 2 rest areas, one on the north side of 20, one on the south side. They just straightened it right out, and then they eliminated East Main Street and went straight down to in front of where the White Cliffs is. They did straighten a few other sections. That's Herb's house. That was, the pumps would have been right in this vicinity here. 238 West Main, the Gables. Alice Minaj contracted with Eliza Green to lease the property known as the Gables for 2 years with option to purchase at the end of the lease. At the time, the property consisted of about 48.5 acres, apparently a bed and breakfast, inn, store, and campground. In April of 23, Minaj did in fact purchase the property. At the same time, formed a corporation to call the property, now called the Gables. In June of that year, he entered into a contract with Texas Company to supply gas to the store as part of the operation term of 5 years. Gables entered into a lease in February with Thomas Kenneth to run the property. It didn't last as the lease was terminated in June 24th, so a few months. December 27th, Nicholas DeMars, as president and treasurer of the Gables, sold the property to Louisa Bean of Worcester. Here's the Gables was not accessed for pumps after 31. EMS took the property back on March 12th of 32, and aside from the property changed hands 14 times between 32 and 47. That's what the Gables looked like back then.
Is that Whitney Place now?
It was a rest home.
Yeah, it is.
It was a rest home.
It is.
Yeah.
Surprising where they were selling gas back then.
Yeah.
But there was a restaurant there too, Paul, at one time.
Yes. Adora's, I think.
Adora's, yes.
Because it was, where's Bob Murphy?
Adora, Janice or something, yeah.
Bob, you should know about that.
Yeah,
That was your grandmother. Huh?
Yeah, it was my grandmother.
Yeah,
Then Sam bought it from her and made it into a nursing home,
right.
rest home.
Rest home, yes.
Retirement home.
Both of them. Then Thornton bought it from
253 West Main, on October 1656, Bill Maney entered into an agreement with Gulf to supply gas and equipment to the station he built on the front of his property. Gulf Station was leased to E.J. Sturck upon completion, and he operated the station for a number of years. When E.J. retired, the building was converted into a bank. After the bank consolidated its offices, it turned into Nicky D's Donuts. That's the Gulf Station.
And they had a telephone booth on the corner too, you know, Paul.
Huh?
They had a telephone booth. We used to use that telephone booth.
It's pretty much the same building. They put a peaked roof on it, and they did a little changing, but 279. So in the next few feet, there were 4 gas stations all real close together. In 24, Robert and Annie Haydup purchased a property in the corner of State Road and King Street. Southwest cutoff did not exist at that time. You either went straight to Shrewsbury or you went up King Street. That nice wide section that goes up the hill wasn't there. That was in 35, I think. So in 24, they were assessed for store, 2 pumps and a sign. Bob passed away in 29. Annie continued to run the store until she sold it November 15th of 47. There's no assessment for gas pumps after 47. That's what it is now. Like the tank, the pumps were right out in front there. The next one, that's the same place. 290, now that we're on the other side of the road. 23, Chet Warren, what's that name again? Robert Farrar purchased 14 acres on the north side of the state road. 23, they signed an agreement with Atlantic, build and equip a gas station. In 24, Farrar sold his interest in Warren, and in November, Warren signed an amended agreement with Atlantic, extending the term to 28. 27, Warren sold his interest to Edward B. Herbert W. and Chester J. Smith, of Charlton, Smith Brothers. In 28, Smith Brothers re-signed with Atlantic for another 5 years. In 32, the Smith Brothers sold to John Wilcox, but held the mortgage for $5,000. He paid off the mortgage in 32, but remortgaged to them for $2,000. Smith foreclosed on Wilcox in 34. No pumps assessed after 37. In 38, Smith Brothers sold to Fred E. and Amelia A. Hart with a mortgage. They took the property back after Fred passed away sometime before 1943. I think that was, what you might remember as the cutoff was a clam box before that, in the early years. But they also sold gas. So that's what it looks like now. Next one, 300 West Main Street. Philip Levine purchased 23 and a half acres of land on the north side of the state road. 31, he entered into an agreement with Standard Oil. They outfitted a gas station for him. Lease agreement was a term of 1 year. We needed at least one more time. It appeared to have been pumping gas until at least 41, probably 46. Property was sold April 15th, 46 to James A. Richardson. In April of 63, Richardson sold to Lloyd F. Cronin and Harold J. Richardson. This is the property they bought. Convoluted mess. It's what now is Fox Meadow with all the buildings on it. That was Colebrook Farm store. And I believe that was where the pumps were. I haven't been able to prove it yet, but I'm pretty sure that's. I remember that, so that was up into the 50s.
Was there a pump there?
There were pumps earlier. I think they stopped, well, when it,
46.
46 it says.
yeah, about 46. I don't have any proof that they sold gas after 46. .442 West Main. Arthur and Emma Hull, which is 50 acres from Charles Newell. Hull seems to have operated a gas station and store from the 20s until 26. No assessment for pumps after 26. They added Jesse Dawson to the deed. The property was sold 1950 by Arthur's wife Emma after his death. I have no early pictures of it, but I believe that is the house. The pumps were out front. That's gone now. I think, well, maybe not. Maybe this is that they built a new building right beside it. All right, Davis and West Main. September 21, John and Ida Sendell purchased 2.5 acres of property from Andrew Erickson, intersection of Davis and the State Road to Shrewsbury, which was Route 20 back then. August of 22, they signed an agreement with Tidewater to install pumps, gas tank, operated a garage and storage gas station until 46 or 47. Property was sold out of the Sandell family in May of 60 after John had passed away. I believe that's John, his wife, and his son. Chucky, do you remember what the son's name was?
Lenny.
Lenny. So that's the kid's race car. We're building a race car. That's a better picture. Looks like they were selling hot dogs too. Everybody had to have a shtick. They had to have something to make money. But that's what it is now. You know, in those days you were making 2 or 3 cents a gallon on the gas, but you were fat, dumb, and happy at that. Guys now, you know, the gas is $4, they're making 10 cents. You would do much better at 4 cents. 104 Southwest Cutoff. We're getting close. September 27, Fred Navarmore purchased a large piece of land from Howard King on both sides of King Street at the intersection of Davis. On the southwest corner of land, they established a home and a store and gas station. Ensuing years, the roads changed and the Southwest Cutoff was established. They were now on the corner of Davis and Southwest Cutoff. Operated until sometime in 44. That's the house. I don't have an early picture of the building. Still looking. Southwest Cutoff. 37, Edwin Dean of Worcester purchased 6.5 acres of land on the Southwest Cutoff from Ezra Bigelow. He added more land in the next few years, had about 167 acres, starting being assessed for a house, store, and gas station, 32. Continued being assessed for gas station, still off a portion of the land. The station on October 57, the buyer, Bertha Cross, was charged for gas pumps in 67. I do not believe she was actually running the gas station. No assessment for pumps after 57. This one you made, that's the piece of property right there that they bought. That's what's left of what the building
Yeah.
was.
Is that still there, Paul?
No, it's gone.
Yeah, it was
That's the
a few years
dentist
ago it was
dentist
there.
office now.
Yeah.
That was there till a couple of years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
You can see it in the woods.
Yeah.
That actually has cellar in it. Route 20 Southwest Cutoff. Clifford Day purchased the land from Louis Angelo, 21 acres, Northborough, Westborough, the intersection. Turnpike Road and soon to be Southwest Cutoff. By 32 is being assessed for a restaurant, gas station, and 4 pumps. Gas station and restaurant continue for some time as Mr. Day acquired more and more land. 51, Mr. Day sold a gas station, about 36 acres of land, to Louis and Harry Keevan. Keevan brothers signed on with Zacconi in 55 and continued operating the gas station and junkyard to the early 70s. Property is now partially a vacant lot with the YMC at the top. And the property is what appears to be the beginning of a new development. They had a junkyard up on the hill. They spent a lot of time up there picking parts. That's what it looks like now. Solomon Pond Road. In October 1911, Charles Lehman purchased 16 acres of land founded by Hudson Street, Solomon Pond Road, and the Marlboro line. He was being assessed for a store, gas pumps, and his land across the street from Solomon Pond Park. Continued, and he sold us the property 1938 to Edward and Evelyn Shambo. No further assessment of gas pumps after 38. The actual property that the gas station was on is now a condominium complex. The next 4 pictures are not of a gas station itself, but it's the reason that they put this gas station where it was.
Park.
Because this was the happening place in the 20s. This was what we know as the grill. Solomon Pond Park. Bathhouses, clam shack,
Water slide.
water slide.
Roller skate.
That's in the 20s. That was a busy place. We had 2 places like that.
It's a roller skate.
Yep,
And old skate rink was over there.
yeah, that's the roller skating rink. That's where the clam shack was. Clam shack had changing room, they had places you could store your clothes, little like drawers, put stuff in. And that's everybody having fun.
That was for free.
Huh?
That was for free. You didn't have to pay this.
You didn't have to pay to get in, you had to pay to roller skate, you had to pay to buy food, and I think you had to pay to store stuff in the boxes, but, 2 cents, 3 cents, a nickel. Short money. But this was a real happy place. A friend of my father's, they used to summer at Solomon Pond Road from New York City. And that's how he ended up living in Northborough. He liked it so much that when he got out of the service, he moved up here.
So when did it stop being this?
When my wife was the Red Cross swimming up there.
Yeah, they used to swim a lot.
80s sometime, maybe.
The town lost their ability to go swimming there when they assessed the grill for the same amount that they were assessing the White Cliffs. And they wouldn't refund any money. They said, you can't use this one at all. The roller skating rink is now a private house. It was used for years by R&T for a warehouse. And then when they got through with it, okay, it's a house. If you stand on Solomon Pond Road and look, the restaurant, it was the grill, I'm not sure what it's called now, but it's right here. There's a blue, I think it's blue. There's a little space between that and a big building. And it's like a hip roof. That's the roller skating rink.
Do we know where that was taken?
Huh?
Do we know where the beach was?
Yeah, it was right there with the grill.
Yeah, it was right
Yeah,
over
is that where the parking lot is, the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah, the parking lot. All right, there's the parking lot. And then, like, I believe that's the changing place right there. And I think that's the roller skate rink. If you go out here a little ways, that's the water.
It might be like Pondview Way.
Right where Pondview Way
Way
is.
across.
Because it's on the pond road, it's right up where these trees are, the road is right there.
Okay.
So, I mean, they were filling that. Most of those cars are 20s, there's nothing there later than 27, 28.
Where would the grill be in this picture?
It would be over here somewhere.
To the right.
Oh, to the right, to the right.
Yeah, like over here.
Some people say there's a road there.
There is. If you know where it is, you can swing out and just stand up.
Right.
If you, where the beach used to be, to the right of the grill, there's looks like a little road going in to the water, like a boat dock or something. If you follow that out, because we used to swim out there all the time and go out and stand up. There was two rafts out there when I was a kid growing up. My grandparents lived on the pond. So we swim out to the rafts, or we swim over to Sparrow's side and swim with the cows. Because the cows
Real sanitary.
Yeah. But, that's pretty impressive for Northborough.
I think I see you there, Paul.
Let's see. And that's where the store would have been. That's where the apartments are on Solomon Pond Road, or the condos, I guess. Okay. Last one. Ridge Road. 1919, Peter Mitchell conveyed to his wife Elizabeth and Raymond Mitchell, I think the son, 6.5 acres that he inherited from his mother. 23, Elizabeth was being assessed for a gas station, store, and 6 cabins. 27, she was the sole owner of record and sold the property on Ridge Road with another parcel of land to Martin Ryan. In 27, in 33, the property was foreclosed on back in Elizabeth's hands. In 34, Elizabeth sold the Ridge Road property to Arthur and Eva Hope. Hope's Cottages sold the property in 63 to William and Amelia Peters. If you go down now, I don't have a modern picture, but this is the little peninsula that sticks out in Bartlett Pond, that they have 2 brand new houses that are $1.5 million, with another one to come.
There's 4 going to be there, I think, Paul.
I thought there was only 3, but
Well, they started with 6 and they cut it down to either 3 or 4.
every type of 3, I think those are pretty big houses. But there were 6 or 8 cottages there up until when Mrs. Peters died. And I think there's a couple of them still being lived in, but there was a store and gas pumps there.
Wow.